Yo, it's Alistair here, founder of the Swayr, and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about the difference between having a growth mindset and having a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset is when you have this perception that you are who you are as a person. It's like from the moment you're born, you're good at certain things and you're not so good at other things. And so because of that, it's this belief that if you're naturally good at something, then okay, you can go and get better at it. But on the other hand, it's the same belief that if you're not naturally gifted at something, you think there's sort of this cap, like, I wasn't born being good at it, therefore I can never get better at it. And so you end up holding yourself back, and it's like this limiting belief because even though you can improve, your brain thinks you can't, and therefore you don't even try to improve in these things. Let's say for example, if you just naturally aren't the best runner. Like maybe you're really strong and you just don't like running all too much. But then your brain thinks, okay, well, I wasn't born a runner, therefore I won't even try and run. But if you don't try and run and you don't practice, then of course you're going to be a bad runner. So it's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And on the other hand, you've got a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is when you have the belief that you have an infinite capacity to learn and to grow as a person. So look, it doesn't mean that you think you're going to be the best at absolutely everything. Like, look, we can't all be Michael Jordans and Steve Jobs. And if you're naturally really, really bad at something, it's a pretty good chance you're never going to be world famous at that thing. But what it does mean, what a growth mindset does mean, is that if you try to improve, if you learn, if you practice, and if you study, even these things that you're naturally bad at, you can and you will improve. And so on both ends, they're both like self-fulfilling prophecies. With a fixed mindset, if you don't think you're going to be able to improve on something, you don't end up putting in the effort to get better at it, therefore you never get better at it. On the other hand, with a growth mindset, even if right now you might be bad at, let's just say it's writing. So even if right now you might think you're really bad at writing, but if you had a growth mindset, you're more likely to actually go out there, to pick up some classes, to actually practice. And while you might never end up being Shakespeare, you're still gonna be a much better writer as compared to if you had a fixed mindset and you never tried to improve in the first place. And now the main problem with having a fixed mindset is that you don't even have to consciously stop yourself. It happens subconsciously without you realizing it. So for example, myself, I used to have crippling social anxiety, and I also thought that confidence was something you're born with. And yeah, look, I've come a long way since then, and that's the reason why I hate that perception so much. But I used to think that. So what would happen is when I had an opportunity to go to, say, a social event, or go to a scenario where I could improve my social skills, where I could improve my social anxiety by getting the opportunity to meet more people, I'd stop myself. Because even without me realizing, my brain would go, well, look, you're an anxious person. You're going to go to this social event and you're just going to be anxious there as well. And you're never going to get over it because you weren't born with confidence. So what's the point of putting yourself in these situations that are going to make you feel bad, but they're not actually going to help you gain anything? Because remember, I thought that I couldn't change. I thought, here's who I am. I was born as an anxious person. That's it. And so because of that, whenever all these opportunities arose, that gave me the chance to get out there, to interact with people, and to really overcome and work on my social skills, I did not go. I just stopped myself. Because I think, well, what's the point? And that happens to everyone. Because it just makes sense. I mean, if you thought that putting yourself in a situation that made you feel bad had no actual gain, why would you do it? And it's the same thing in any circumstance. Let's just say you're trying to get fit, but you think that you're not a fit person and you genuinely believe that you can't change that. Why would you put yourself in a situation such as exercise, that, you might not enjoy it, but why would you do that if you thought you weren't going to change from it? Because then it's like you're doing something you don't like for no gain. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why a fixed mindset is so detrimental, because it stops you from doing things that could help you be better. And because of that, you're self-sabotaging, so you're never gonna grow. So now the real question, how do you actually develop a growth mindset? Like, yeah, look, it sounds cool. Like, I can grow, I can change, I can be better. But how do you actually do that? Well, look, I've seen this so many times, and the easiest place to see this is at the gym. So you see people coming in for the first time, yeah? A lot of people who probably had fixed mindsets at the time. Didn't really think they can get stronger, faster, or fitter. But maybe they had a buddy, they had a friend, someone who was like, look, just come to the gym, we'll make this work. But what happens is, yeah, look, the first day they come in, they seem really nervous. But after 2, 3, 4 sessions, they start to get a little bit stronger. And as they get stronger, they get more motivated and they start coming to the gym more often because they're seeing progress. But on top of that, what's happening is that they're teaching their mind to realize, hang on a minute, I can grow. Like, I thought that I couldn't be stronger. I thought I just naturally wasn't strong. But here I am at the gym and I'm already lifting 10 kilos more than 2 months ago. Therefore, if I'm growing this much now, that means I can grow. That means I can continue to grow. And boom, they've got a growth mindset. And all that is, yeah, that's their actions changing their beliefs. And that's how you get a growth mindset. So the way that you can harness that from the very beginning is to shift your focus, okay? Shift your focus away from the outcome. So let's say the outcome is you want to one day be able to run a marathon. Or one day you want to run a massive company. Like whatever your goals are, but shift your focus away from achieving that goal. Because for example, if your goal is, I want to be someone who can run a marathon, but right now you can barely run 5 kilometers, how motivated do you think and how capable will you feel when you're thinking about whether or not you will become a person that can run a marathon? The odds are not very much. And that's where the fixed mindset comes in. You're like, you know what? There's no way in hell I can ever do a marathon if I can only do 5 kilometers right now. And boom, your motivation crashes. On the other end, what you want to be doing is you want to focus on the process. So just like with people who exercise, when you go through the process, so in this case for a marathon, the process might be going running 3 times a week and just trying to run a little bit further every time. That's it. So instead of focusing on being someone that can run a marathon, you want to feel like you are someone who runs often. That's it. You don't got to focus on the goal, but you got to identify yourself as someone who will go through the process. And what happens is that, okay, yeah, I'm someone who runs 3 times a week. I'm someone who runs regularly. Therefore, I'm going to keep doing it. And after a week, you feel great. Why? Because your goal wasn't to hit marathon. Your goal was to run a couple of times a week, and you got that. And so you keep running. But 2 weeks later, you suddenly realize, hang on a minute. I ran 3 kilometers longer than I did 2 weeks ago. Wait, what? I'm progressing? And that continues onwards and onwards. And before you know it, you're running the distance of half a marathon and you're like, holy shit, I'm halfway there. What? But because you focused on the process, you focus on having the behaviors of someone that could achieve that goal. In doing that, you harness a growth mindset because you've now motivated yourself to do things that will help you change. And as you do these things and you start to progress, those actions and those outcomes, they will convince you that you can grow. And that's how you get a growth mindset. It's by shifting your focus away from the goal you want to achieve and shifting it to doing the processes, labeling yourself as a person who does those processes. If you're an entrepreneur, do you start by thinking, okay, I'm going to build a world-changing company? Sure. And then you'll start, you hit a roadblock, you think it's impossible, and you stop. But now instead of that, what if you shifted your focus to, I'm an entrepreneur who works very hard. And that's what you do. You go on day after day and you work very hard. As you continue working hard, the results will show for themselves. As you start working hard and your business starts to grow, then you realize, okay, maybe this is possible. So forget about the outcome, forget about your goals, forget about what you want to achieve long term. What I want you to do is figure out, in order to get there, what are the processes? What are the things you have to do day in, day out? And then stick to that. Stick to your routine, do them day in, day out, and the confidence and the goals you want to achieve and the mindset will come for itself. So if you're feeling stuck and you feel like you have a bit of a fixed mindset and you want to know how to overcome that and get a growth mindset, what I want you to do is figure out what this thing that you think you're really bad at, what is that? So for example, maybe you think that you're a really bad writer. You want to be better at it, but unfortunately you just think that you kind of suck. And that's okay. But once you have that, instead of having a goal of, I'm going to write a book in the next 2 years, when you currently think you're a really bad writer, I want you to focus on the process. So be like, okay, I'm going to dedicate just 2 hours every weekend just to get my writing up. An hour on Saturday, an hour on Sunday. And make that a routine and keep doing that. And once you've started doing your routine and you feel good about it, and you notice your writing skills improving, then just slowly crank up how much time you're investing into it. Until you're writing, and before you know it, you've got your book pumped out, you're a great writer, but because your goal was to do the process instead of going after that big end game, you're gonna feel a lot better about it and you're gonna progress so much quicker. So focus on doing the process and stick to it. That's all there is to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit us up with a comment, a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.